Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. Tino Pattigno later in the show from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Tubi to preview this weekend's NASCAR race in Kansas. Advent Health 400 taking place there. Can Kyle Larson finally get a win after almost a year without one? Talk about that. Our friend Robert Littal will be hanging out with us on Fridays. He comes up and hangs out with us in about 10 minutes. Get to some of the top stories of the day with him, including the NBA, with the play-in tournament concluding on Friday night over on Prime Video. WrestleMania this weekend. An interesting press conference involving the Dallas Wings and their number one overall draft pick, Azzi Fudd. We will get to that as well. Odds and ends, a whole bunch more, but we start things out as we always do on this Friday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And a big story deserves a Colossus sponsor. Our friends over at Colossus Fantasy. Pick'em games, peer-to-peer games. They have it all. If you have not checked it out yet, go and download the app right now. Scan the QR code. Go download the app right now. And when you do, on your first deposit of $10, just $10, you get a $40 bonus. It's not enough $50 to play with. You put in a $20 deposit, you get an $80 bonus. So $20 gets you $100. Right now with Colossus Fantasy, use my promo code SPORTSWRAP. You see it on the screen. SPORTSWRAP is the promo code, and you get that bonus, again, with our friends from Colossus Fantasy. It's been a turn back the clock sort of week, hasn't it? Kind of where we are right now. It's a turn back the clock sort of week. It feels like there's a lot of nostalgia this week. You know, and we're in that mode right now, that frame of mind. What was once old is new again. We want to be able to reach back and grab those things that made us comfortable. And in this case, one of those things this week was the Golden State Warriors, who beat the Clippers. And they'll try to beat the Suns tonight to make it into the playoffs as the number 8 seed, where they will almost surely get destroyed, dismantled by the Oklahoma City Thunder. But it's just being able to reach back for a night or two and feel what we once felt watching our favorite athletes. There's been a lot of that this week. There'll be more of it tonight and more of it this weekend. And I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit. First, it was with the Warriors, with Stephen Curry. Doing what he did. Draymond Green, looking like Draymond Green of 7 or 8 years ago defensively. Locking down one of the best offensive players in the NBA in Kawhi Leonard. And Curry hitting all these crazy shots down the stretch to propel this Warriors team past the Clippers in a game that nobody thought they were going to win. But they did. And then there was the story of Mike Trout this week at Yankee Stadium. You want to talk about turning back the clock in a huge way. Trout hit 5 home runs over 4 games at Yankee Stadium. They couldn't get him out. 5 home runs. And it's just great to see Mike Trout healthy. And somebody commented on one of my posts on social media saying, oh, till he gets hurt. Why even say that? Just enjoy it. This guy, before Aaron Judge, before Shohei Ohtani, this guy was the it guy in baseball. He was the guy that you didn't turn away from the TV. You didn't walk away to go to the bathroom. You didn't run to the concession stand when Mike Trout came to the plate. 5-tool guy, could steal bases, could go shag them with the best of them in the outfield. Can go run them down. Hitting home runs, 3-time MVP. All the All-Star appearances. And yeah, the Angels never got over the finish line with him. And there had even been talk in recent years of him possibly going somewhere else to finish his career. Now at least it feels like he's going to stay in Los Angeles with the Angels and finish his career as an Angel. Even if that means he doesn't get a chance to play for a championship, which would be somewhat disappointing, but still. It's just fun watching Mike Trout be Mike Trout, even just for a few days. And who knows? He's hitting 230 or 240, whatever it is. Who knows what happens the rest of the season? But for a few days, we were able to reach back into the Wayback Machine and pull out vintage Mike Trout, who went toe-to-toe with Aaron Judge as the Yankees and Angels split 4 games. And now this weekend, it'll be LeBron James with no Luka Doncic, no Austin Reeves. It's all on LeBron at 41, playing in what could be his final season. You know, I caution everybody. Everybody just thinks it's a fait accompli. He's going to come back next year. Maybe he finishes with the Cavaliers. Maybe it's the Warriors. Maybe it's the Knicks. Whatever. Everybody thinks and just assumes that they know what LeBron's going to do. He may get done with the season and just say, you know what, I've had enough. He talks about the aches and pains and what it's like to get up every day. Enjoy this series with LeBron trying to put the Lakers on his back after having to play sort of that accessory role to Luka and Austin Reeves. Now it's all on LeBron again. And one of the greatest athletes of this or any generation starts a 7-game series with the Houston Rockets this weekend. Enjoy it. Again, that opportunity to reach back into the Wayback Machine. How much can LeBron give the Lakers in the series? He's going to have to give them everything and more for them to have a shot. And even to that degree, Kevin Durant. No, we just assume these guys are going to play forever. We don't know. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. But we get LeBron and Durant in this series. Enjoy it. There's no guarantees, that we get LeBron next year, especially depending on how this series goes. LeBron may just come out of it and say, I've given it everything I got, and decide to walk away. And nobody would blame him if he did. One of the greatest careers we've ever witnessed. It's part of a week of nostalgia. I, for one, have enjoyed it immensely. The big story presented by our friends at Colossus Fantasy. All right, we got a lot more to do on this Friday edition of the show. The NBA play-in tournament concludes on Friday night. Robert Littal is here, the founder of Black Sports Online, hanging out with us on Fridays. We'll get his thoughts on that and a whole bunch more as we continue. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. Exciting news. Robert Littal always joins us on Fridays here on the show to talk about some of the top stories of the week. Good news, if you like Robert Littal, you're going to get more of them on Fridays with us. Because, what was that? What was that?
That might be bad news for some people.
No. It's only good news when you hang out with us. Robert's going to be hanging out with us more on Fridays. Sam's going to be off on Fridays because of some scheduling things. So we're going to have Robert hang out with us on Fridays, which I am always thrilled to do because, quite honestly, if I could do this show twice, you would be doing the show with me every day as well because I love working with you. So,
thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. All right. Lot to get into in the show. Starting with the NBA, we've got the play-in tournament, final 2 spots to be handed out tonight, I guess, if you will. Hornets and Magic in Orlando. And I'll tell you, of all the teams that we saw in the first set of games, the Magic were the most lackluster, flat, uninspired of those of that grouping that we saw. And there's a lot of people that think Jamal Mosley's job is very much at risk there in Orlando. While the Hornets have been, they've been thrilling to watch all season long. Forget Concanepple for a second, who could very well be your rookie of the year in the NBA. LaMelo Ball and what he's done, the trip of Bam Adebayo notwithstanding. This has been an exciting team to watch. I think Charlotte gets the win tonight in Orlando. What say you, Robert Littal?
I hope so. Just the exact reasons you said, and this is not a knock on Orlando. They're a little boring to watch, and I'll be honest with you. And, I think the Hornets, they're young, they're a little wild, they're a little unpredictable. it's an interesting watch. Especially, I'm sure if you're a purist of basketball. But to me, it's fun. It's because it's a little out of control. You're not exactly sure what you're going to get from the players. That last 5 minutes in overtime with Miami was some of the most. I don't know what you would call it, but it was definitely fun. I don't know if I would call it beautiful basketball, but it was definitely fun. I think it'd be good for the NBA. I mean, I think sometimes you need some new teams kind of give a thing. And I think, they've been hot. So they may be able to give the Pistons, a little bit of a series there.
Yeah, and I don't think Detroit wants to see them. I think Detroit would much rather see Orlando than a Charlotte team that's playing with house money. Nobody expected them to be in this position. I think they would much rather see Orlando in that 1-8 matchup for sure. The other game that I think is going to be riveting, especially coming off what we saw against the Clippers the other night, is the Warriors and Suns in Phoenix, Robert. And I mean, I said this yesterday on the show. I got emotional, and I'm not a Warriors fan, but I got emotional from a sports standpoint watching this Warriors team try and scrap out. They don't need it. They have Kerr, Draymond Green, Curry. They have nothing left to prove. Those guys were playing, and it's the antithesis of Orlando, by the way, who should have everything to prove. Yeah. Golden State played like a team that had never won a championship, was trying to get that first ring. They have no shot in the world against Oklahoma City in a 7-game series. But the fact that they're playing like they do and that they just want that opportunity, it's made me, I'm so enamored with it. And I hope, and I know Phoenix is a nice story. They weren't supposed to be very good this year. I get that. And I get that the Warriors had like 37 regular season wins. I want to see Golden State get this win tonight. I don't know if they do, but I know we're going to get a good game tonight. They're going to leave it all out there.
It's like every movie that has, where they have a young hero, that's Oklahoma City. And then you have the old, hero, or maybe the young villain and the old hero, and They don't have much left, but they put it together for one, final battle. You know what I mean? It's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's Batman versus Bane. It's Batman versus Bane putting together one more fight.
Yeah, they got one more fight in them. I think when you watch Steph Curry, the reason that people get so emotional is because the end is near. That, with LeBron and Kevin Durant, the end is near. So when they do put on these type of performances, someone that has watched them our age their entire career from when they were babies, when they were in college, high school for some, it's like, we actually try to explain it to young people. You don't understand actually what you're witnessing right now. And when he came off that screen, that was, in my mind, before he let that ball go, I said, well, that's Steph Curry. That's no doubt that ball is going in. So when you have something so dear, like parents, or whatever, right? It's like you appreciate them as you get older because you don't know how much time you got left. And I think that's why people are like, we just want a couple of more games with Steph in the playoffs and Draymond in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Along those lines, you mentioned Durant and LeBron, and that series kicks off this weekend. I will be interesting to see if we watch LeBron play this series sort of in that way we've seen the Warriors play. Is it all out? Because there are some that still think he could retire after this season, Robert. And if that's the case, we might get that full-bore LeBron.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I'm sure the Lakers did not want Luka and Reeves hurt, but you are going to get one last hurrah of number one LeBron. And, he was number one for 20 years. So, the guy that drove the engine, and he did take a step back, wondering to know at 41, can he, pull this off? Can he beat Kevin Durant, which is something that he's had trouble, doing in the past? Once again, it's an appreciation thing because, he was playing against teams that were tanking, so you really, don't know how much he has left in the tank. But can Superman pull it, Batman pull it together, one more time? Because I think even getting through one series would elevate him. It's not much more elevation he can go.
True.
But would even give him another step in that elevation.
And, for the Rockets, we all take it for granted that Kevin Durant's just going to be back year after year. The clock is winding down on him as well. Yeah. So it'll be fascinating to watch those two teams. And I wonder if this series gets deep if we get Luka back at some point before the end of the series.
I wouldn't do it, even if it got deep, because if you feel like LeBron can win it, it's much better to try to let him do that and get a fully healthy Luka than trying to drop him out there in Game 6 cold, right off the hamstring injury in a high-pressure situation, Game 6 or 7. Much easier to do that if you're able to get through, and then you can start fresh with a Game 1.
Robert Littal is hanging out with us. He will come back. We will come back. We got a lot more to get into on this Friday edition of the show, including the bizarre press conference with the Dallas Wings and Azzi Fudd yesterday. That's next. All right. Welcome back to the show, WrestleMania. We'll preview it coming up in 10 minutes. In Las Vegas for the second straight year. But will people be watching? Will people be attending? It's also a very good question. Get Robert Littal's thoughts. He's a big wrestling fan. All right. And by the way, did you see the Jey Uso thing? Where he went after? Yeah. Do you think that was a work?
Of course.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure. It wasn't a Dr. D. David Schultz moment.
No. I think those days.
All right. We'll get to that coming up in about 10 minutes here on the show. So I am fascinated, and I've been talking about this going back a ways when we thought Azzi Fudd could be the top pick in the draft and join Paige Beckers over with the Dallas Wings. Well, it happened at the draft this week. She was drafted number 1 overall. And the inevitable question, and I think it's a question you have to ask, is how does their relationship impact all of this? Because there have been other teams and other situations around the league where this sort of dynamic has existed. So yesterday, they had the introductory press conference for Azzi Fudd. The general manager was there. I don't know if the coach was there, but I saw the GM, Kurt Miller, there, who's also openly gay, by the way, was there. And one of the members of the media posed the question that you knew was inevitably going to be asked. Here it is.
Page announced last year on TikTok that y'all were a couple, and I'm wondering if that is still the case, and if so, if y'all have talked to any other couples in the league about how they negotiate that dynamic as pro teammates.
I understand why you have to ask that question, but we're going to respectfully decline from commenting on our players' personal lives. Go to the next question.
Okay, Robert Littal. I think it's a major PR blunder from the Dallas Wings to do it this way. Because now all you've done is everybody's going to keep asking that question. All you had to do was talk about it once and say, look, we're going to address this issue once. Here's their relationship. Here's what's going on. Whether it factors in, how does it factor into the dynamic on the court? You could have killed this in one shot in the middle of April before even training camp opens up. And instead, now people are going to keep asking. And it's a legitimate question to ask about what happens between two young women in their 20s who get into a relationship. And who knows? Maybe it works out. Maybe they're like a lot of lesbians I know and they bring a U-Haul on the first date. Maybe that's the way it winds up working out. Or maybe it doesn't. And then what happens? I think it's a very valid question. I thought the Dallas Wings PR team screwed it up royally. Your thoughts?
Yeah, first off, I thought it was worded really well, especially the last part. Have you spoke to other couples? Because we know there are other couples in the WNBA. It has always been that way about how to navigate, being teammates and being a couple. I thought that was excellently worded, because that's a tricky situation to get into. So you want to make sure that you don't put it in any type of offensive way. What I saw was exactly what you just said, is that a lot of the PR people that were commenting on it is that when you do that, you automatically make it a much bigger story than what it is, which is what you're trying, to avoid. Also, there's no way in the year of 2026 that you could tell the media people that, we're not talking about our personal lives, where, I mean, every time you look up, somebody's talking about, somebody's kid or divorce or relationships. I mean, it's just a part of life in sports in 2026. I think once again, and I've said this on this show multiple times, if the WNBA, who has a new collective bargaining agreement, people are making millions of dollars now, they got the TV deal, they want to be seen as a legitimate, league up there with, the NBA, the NFL, hockey, baseball, with golf, tennis, whatever. They have to start acting like one. They have to stop gatekeeping the league. I still think there's this feeling of insecurity about the league, and they're so delicate and so soft, and we have to protect them, and the fans can't say anything about them, and oh my God, I mean, it's so protective nature, probably because they've had to deal with it for so long. But you're with the big girls now, you know what I mean? You're a big girl league now. And these are the type of things that the big boys have to handle almost every single day. So I thought it was a terrible way. And, Fudd is an intelligent, she went to UConn. She knows how to handle herself. She's not 50 years old, but I think she's intelligent enough to give that. And it's not like that's the first time they've ever talked about their relationship. They made it public. So at that point, the public is right to ask about it.
And here's the thing. To say it's not I hope the argument is that it isn't a valid question, because whether you're in a sexual relationship, as Paige Beckers and Azzi Fudd are, or at least were, we assume they're still in a relationship. NBA relationships are discussed all the time. WNBA and NBA relationships are discussed all the time, even in the context of guys that are friends, guys that get along, guys that don't get along. It's not a question that's out of bounds, Robert, to sit there and try and figure out how that dynamic affects what goes on in the court.
Let's say they asked Bronny about LeBron.
Sure.
And the PR person's like, hey, we're not going to talk about his dad.
Yeah, it's family stuff.
Yeah, it's family stuff, I mean, they talk, hey, Bronny, are you still living in the house? Bronny, how do you play one-on-one? Because it's you can't ignore their father and son on the same team. I mean, and this is, like I said, it's not unusual in the WNBA. So it's not like, let's say it was a gay NBA male couple, right? Maybe that's the first time it's ever happened. So maybe there's some sensitivities or whatever, to that. But this is fairly common, in the WNBA. I mean, Sue Bird and all these people have been together, for 20 years. So I just didn't think it was a big deal. I mean, everybody knows about it. They talk about it. It's just the gatekeeping, I think, is holding the WNBA back from really being all that it can be.
I wonder how much of it is also like that heated rivalry dynamic that's going on right now with that show, that's sort of taken hold and not wanting to sensationalize their relationship. And I also wonder how much of it has to do with, and this might be part of it, maybe they're still figuring out what their relationship is. We don't know.
If you're gonna don't do interviews for magazines, don't do photo shoots together.
I agree. They've put it out there. If you're really private, like seriously, then people won't ask about it. But when she's at the draft in her suit and you guys are taking pictures together, it's like your wife or your girlfriend, like the NFL draft. People are gonna ask about it. People ask about the young ladies that are at the NBA, the NFL draft. Oh, you're getting married. Is this your fiance? Oh, you got married. Oh, this is the love of my life. This is the mother of my child. It's talked about if they're there. Yeah, no, I agree. They have very much put themselves out in the public as a couple, which, by the way, they have every right to do. I have no issue with that whatsoever. All right, a WrestleMania preview coming up. Pat McAfee heavily involved. What's Robert Littal think of that? Next. Welcome back to the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Tino Pattigno enters the Sports Wrap Spotlight. We'll get into it with him on the NASCAR race in Kansas this week. Odds and ends still to come later on in the show. Robert Littal, once a year we get to really dig into wrestling. WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas this weekend. the first ESPN WrestleMania. They're actually airing the first hour, I think, on Saturday and the first hour on Sunday on ESPN2, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty cool that that'll be the first time we see something like that. It was funny. Somebody was suggesting yesterday, oh my God, is it great for ESPN to be in the wrestling business? Is it good? Is it bad? And I think I saw you comment on that and say they've been in the wrestling business for a long time. if you really think about it, and I think that's very true. So Pat McAfee has gotten involved in this year's WrestleMania, vis-a-vis his relationship with Randy Orton, who's going to save wrestling, according to McAfee. There's a lot of wrestling purists and fans out there in the community who are not happy with McAfee's involvement. They're not happy with the ticket prices. There's a lot of angst around this WrestleMania, it feels like, Robert Littal.
The ticket prices are out of control. And I say this as somebody that's been to several WrestleManias and back in the past. And you used to be, because, they're normally in a football stadium or something really big. Normally you could, back in the day, you used to be able to get in for a couple hundred, bucks and get a good seat. And you look at it, Vegas now, just to sit up in the ride is $1,500. So, the wrestling fans, they're not, they're not Trump, they're not billionaires and stuff. Normally they're middle class, rank and file. So to see them get priced out like a Super Bowl, it is a bit, disturbing. As far as McAfee, I think, like I said, another thing that I said yesterday is ESPN spent a lot of money to get the WWE package. And I don't know if they're feeling like, they're not getting a good return on their investment, but they're doing their best to promote it internally, basically so they don't have to spend any money on their own, advertising, so they put them all on the shows from ESPN and using McAfee as a conduit to try to get people to more people to watch. With WrestleMania, it's very much like the Super Bowl, very much like the NBA Finals or the World Series. It's not the hardcore fan that they're trying to attract. It's the casual. It's the one that hasn't watched wrestling all year or barely watches wrestling at all that picks up and say, hey, I'm going to pay $9.99 to, watch it on ESPN because, Pat McAfee is going to be, on there. They almost had Stephen A. Smith on there, but he didn't want to take any bumps.
God. Really?
Yeah. He didn't want to take the bumps. Because McAfee put his body on the line and throw himself around. And but they said they pitched Stephen A. something, and he was like, I don't want to be flying around.
Well, it sounds like this is leading to a tag team match. A lot of people think at Backlash, which is going to pit Randy Orton and Pat McAfee against Cody Rhodes and Jelly Roll. Who's, bless his heart, he's lost weight and he's really improved his health to kind of get into this wrestling stuff. But if that's what gets you excited about wrestling, then I guess knock yourselves out. What do you make of CM Punk versus Roman Reigns? Obviously, night 2 of WrestleMania.
They went to the, over reliable. I think one of the things about wrestling that wrestling fans are always concerned with is that, sometimes they have a hard time creating new stars. And then therefore what we get a lot of nostalgia. And, in this case, they really haven't fought and everything, but, they're two guys that are in their 40s, now, but, they're still top of the line, top of the main event, most known, type of individuals, on there. So I'm interested to see it. I can't say that I'm like super, excited about it because when you start, Roman Reigns, I think has been in like 8 WrestleMania main events. This is the first for CM Punk, but CM Punk has been around forever. WrestleMania normally always comes through as far as once it actually gets to the actual wrestling, part. But I'm more interested to see some of the younger people on the kind of the undercard, of it. Like Brock Lesnar.
So who? Femi and Brock Lesnar.
Those type of guys. Trick, Williams, stuff. Those guys, could be the future. Of the business. So I always like to see how they do on the big stage. And because, WrestleMania can definitely be a launching point for a young career.
But it still comes down to booking and how you make up these cards. And there are a lot of people questioning sort of the way Triple H has done. There were some suggesting Vince McMahon might be at WrestleMania in terms of helping to put this thing. I'm just telling you what I've read, that there were some people suggesting that Vince McMahon may be getting back involved.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, it's, wrestling as it goes in waves. It's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold. I think Triple H has done some good things, maybe stabilized the business as far as like not having too much controversy and stuff like that. But there was a genius in Vince McMahon. He did build, the company. Then you add in that TKO and the Saudis are involved as well. It's not the WWE, The Rock and Stone Cold, Steve Austin, era. It's a different time. And so it's a different way of doing, business. But in the end, what it's supposed to be is to take you out of your reality, for a couple of hours and, enjoy something that, that you enjoyed as a kid.
I wonder if this is a tipping point in the last 30 seconds of this segment. I wonder if this is a tipping point on the ticket stuff and if they've learned their lesson from this. Like, are we going to see a 2/3 filled stadium?
I would also, especially on Saturday, the first, night, I don't think, it's going to be full. And, they went to 2 days because they can make more money, pretty much. It's not like you buy one ticket and get both days. So now if you're a wrestling fan and you want to see everything, you're talking, $3,000-$4,000, and that's not counting travel, hotels, food, and all the other stuff. It did not used to be that type of experience, but it is now.
Robert Littal's hanging out with us from Black Sports Online. We're coming back with Tino Pattigno. Robert will return for Odds and Ends later. Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. Robert Littal will be back for that. Time for the Sports Wrap Spotlight, and only because we haven't come up with a good NASCAR name for our Friday and Monday segments yet. I think I've got one. I think I have one, but for this week, Tino Pattigno joins us in the Sports Wrap Spotlight. Every Friday and Monday, we talk NASCAR on the show, preview the race on Fridays, recap it on Mondays. Jerry Bonkowski's under the weather. Get better soon, Jerry. So he couldn't join us on Monday. Ty Gibbs, a winner for the first time. He won last week. And I just before we get into this week's race in Kansas, the significance of Ty Gibbs, for all we talk about Michael Jordan and his impact on the sport with 23-11 racing, it can't be understated what Joe Gibbs, and it was so long ago now, there are some people that don't even know Joe Gibbs was a football coach because they know him more as a NASCAR owner, Tino Pattigno. The significance of Ty Gibbs winning last week.
It was something that, in a way, to see him win, and after a few seasons of going through struggles, and like you said, yeah, Joe Gibbs, but that's also his grandpa, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like there's a lot of talk, he's a Nepo baby, he's struggling to get wins, he's not good enough. And for someone like Ty Gibbs, who dominated in the O'Reilly series, won a championship there, but ultimately got to Cup a little early, I think. And that's not a bad thing. But when he was struggling to find the results, it was something to where people put a lot of criticism on him. Now, Ty Gibbs does a good job in terms of blocking out the outside noise, not really acknowledging that facts, but it was truth, and it was very prominent around the garage, the fact that did he belong here? Now he goes out and gets the win, but he doesn't get the win in, a fashion that was lucky or a right place to the right time. He was one of the top 3 cars at Bristol, which is one of the hardest tracks on the schedule to find speed from. And he held off champions in Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney to do so, all after staying out on 90-lap older tires. This was not only a strong win, but an impressive win, and one that comes from a season of top 5s all throughout. Ty Gibbs right now has the best average finish out of all drivers this season. That's very impressive.
All right. From Ty Gibbs winning last week to Kansas this week, Kyle Larson won this race last year. So give me a sense. Is this finally the get right spot for Kyle Larson to get himself a victory?
That's what we think, because when we get to Sunday, it'll be over 340 days since Larson's last Cup victory.
Inconceivable.
And keep in mind, he has a championship. He won a championship in between then. but it's just the fact that it's come at this track. The last time at that race, it was a perfect race for Larson. Won the pole, won stage 1, 2, ultimately the race, had the fastest laps. We got max points that day. All signs are pointing towards a Larson breakthrough victory here. But at the same time, the Toyotas have been so fast at this track, so strong. We look at the fall race in which Bubba Wallace was in contention. He was fighting after Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe. We know Tyler Reddick's speed this season, and this is one of his best tracks overall with the high speed, the multi-grooves, trying to rip the high line or going down low to find whatever more speed you can. This is what makes Kansas great, and that's why the Toyotas right now in this intermediate package and style of racetrack are right now the best out of all the manufacturers.
All right, another guy who needs to get right is Bubba Wallace. He's won at this track before. His first win was in 2022 here. Give me some thoughts on Bubba, who needs to get right now.
Exactly. You know, after having a poor Martinsville and, you know, sort of now shaking out to be 8th in points, that's not bad for him. But ultimately, like you said, he can continue to climb up. I think it starts at this track. I see him having a top 5 run. But if I'm putting him next to his teammate Tyler Reddick, who's plus 750 right now to win the race, I got to go with Reddick. This is similar to a Darlington with Tyler. I just see like this being his best track and already having that uptick in speed, already having 4 wins this season. I'd be surprised if the 45 car wasn't dominant on Sunday.
Talking about the odds for the race, Kyle Larson at plus 340 over on FanDuel, Denny Hamlin at plus 470, Christopher Bell at plus 550, Ryan Blaney 9-1 along with Tyler Reddick, William Byron at 11-1. You got to go down to 20-1. To find Bubba Wallace with Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, and Chase Elliott squeezed in between those guys. Give me some other potential spots you like this weekend.
So I'm looking at RFK in terms of that team with Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, that's the driver we've been highlighting throughout the season. Chris Buescher as well in the top 10 market. They're plus 110, plus 145 to get a top 10 at this racetrack. I like that because I think they'll be the best Fords on Sunday. Ryan Blaney's been having that, and rightfully so, passing so many cars. He actually had a pit crew change as well, which is important to note. He's been losing so many spots on pit road and having to drive through the field to pass cars for Ryan Blaney. So to see that switch was good for him. But I think those RFK Fords are going to be the best Fords on Sunday. Maybe not winning the race, but Brad Keselowski shows value to do so. 30-1 right now to win. And in the spring in this race last year, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott were the only 2 drivers to pass Kyle Larson on the long green flag run.
All right. So who wins? Give me your overall pick. Is it Kyle Larson that we're going with here?
I think you have to have Larson on your card with everything we talked about. But if I need to have a Toyota as well. I don't mind a Tyler Reddick play, but if I'm going to say one driver right now, give me Christopher Bell to win it. He's led in 8 consecutive Kansas races. Had some bad luck at Bristol. I think he's due for this one.
All right. What about Kyle Busch? Hey, we're going to win again?
Not when he's in an RCR car. It just doesn't look too good. They're struggling too much with that speed. And honestly, this is something Denny Hamlin talked about on his podcast. If Austin Dillon is outperforming Kyle Busch with that same equipment, Kyle Busch may be more of the issue than we thought.
All right. Tino Pattigno, catch him this weekend on Tubi, Sirius XM, NASCAR Radio as well. Always appreciate you, my man.
Thank you.
Welcome back. A couple of reminders before we leave you on this Friday. First of all, Sports Wrap Weekends, our 30-minute recap show of everything we talked about from the week that was. Catch it on many of these same affiliates. If not, check your local listing for time and schedule. We could be on a sister station within your market. 30 minutes. It's fantastic, I promise you. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this show available Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. Crystal clear audio, Monday through Friday. Available early each afternoon with limited commercial interruptions. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show is available there. Commercial-free, 45 minutes waiting for you like a good friend. early every afternoon. Go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our companion podcasts are there. Sports Wrap Shorts are there. 1 to 3 minute long vertical videos made for people on the go. News breaks, we jump in with it. Big games at night, we got those covered too. Sports Wrap Shorts available on the YouTube channel. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, you guessed it, the same name, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay, for the final time this week on this Friday, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Robert Littal. The bizarre case of Luther Davis, who apparently was impersonating professional athletes to defraud them. This case is bizarre. Michael Penix Jr. got wrapped up in it. Whole bunch of different professional football players. I guess he played at Alabama, and he was
national champion.
He went and like dressed up. Like he took this thing. You've probably read into it even more than I have. He really went to great lengths to pull off this caper, and he almost got away with it.
Yeah, if it wasn't for those damn kids. But no, I mean, he there's certain levels of fraud, I would say. This one was high level. I mean, he wasn't just trying to pretend to be the NFL players. Because rightfully so, the lenders were like, well, we need to see who we're talking to.
Right.
You know, we need to. They said, no problem. You want me to be Mike Penix Jr.? I just put on a do-rag, and some soft lighting, and give me $3 million. And they did it. You know, it makes you wonder. I'm like, man, can I pull this off? Maybe that's like it's very strange. Almost $20 million pretending to be 3 different NFL players. But what that does tell you, one of the things I always get from this when I see this is I can see how athletes get in trouble with money. Because lenders, they spend a lot of money, but because they're athletes and they have contracts, these lenders are willing to give them millions and millions of dollars, probably at very high interest rates, just be off their name and pretty much nothing else.
It's crazy. I'm telling you, man. This guy went the full Monty to try and pull this thing off. It's wild. If you get a chance,
a movie.
Oh, without question, there should be a movie on this one. Odds and ends, Robert Littal. A 12-year-old going yard, throwing his bat, almost hit himself in the head with the bat, running around the bases and celebrating. They've got cameras following him like it's MLB The Show. Like, what is going on here? I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like the old guy on the front porch, drinking country time lemonade saying, I don't like this. I don't like this. And everybody's like, blame the parents, blame the coach. I blame everybody. I think it's terrible.
This is great. This is 2026. This is what happens in this is look, we have to understand the society that we're living with. It's not the same one that we, grew up with. I know my coaches in high school, and they did not like it. And I was a little bit of a showboat myself. They did not like, that type of showboat. But, in 2026, I believe this particular baseball team, they're social media, team. That's why you had all the cameras and stuff around. Their whole goal is to go viral. And what they did was they tricked you guys into it. They knew exactly what they were doing, when they got the little basketball hoop that he dunked in.
God, that's terrible.
When I look at the individuals that were losing their mind over this, every one of those videos had 5 million views, 3 million views, 1 million views, doing exactly what they don't want to happen. They say, oh, we don't like this, we don't want that, this is wrong, this shouldn't be this, but you're giving them 10 million views, because of your commentary. So you're a part of the problem that you're saying that you're trying to correct. And furthermore, these are kids. I don't know how old the kid was. He didn't look older than 12. But to me,
he looked like he was 30. What are you talking about?
To me, I think sometimes we project societal issues on the sports issue. If the kid has good grades, is a nice kid, open the doors for old ladies, I don't care if he has a GoPro when he hits a home run. The chances of him going to MLB are like 0.111%. If they're out there having fun, it doesn't look like the other team was that bothered by it. I saw grown men saying the next time he come up, they would try to beat him.
Oh, right in the tush. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's the WWE-ifying of sports that we continue to see. We're out of time. We gotta go. Thank you to you, Robert Littal. It was fun having you hang out with us on the show. Look forward to it next Friday. Thank you as well to Tino Pattigno.
Quick shout out, my daughter, Harper, is getting an award at school today because she's a super genius. And I always like to, when I'm on the show and stuff, shout out my kids who are definitely smarter. It's smarter than, I just proved my point that are smarter than their father.
They're going to take, don't worry, they'll take care of you one day. We got to go. Thanks, Robert. Always appreciate you.
All right, bye.
We'll see you back here this weekend for Sports Wrap Weekends. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap Shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.